Welcome back to the Silverman Show. My guest today is Maria Dimakas, an expert on condominium law. And we were talking about court-appointed administrators, which hopefully I never have to witness.
Not in your building,
Not
I'm sure.
in our building. But that court-appointed administrator has a tremendous amount of power, I gather.
Absolutely. The court-appointed administrator, unlike a board of directors, is not elected. They are court-appointed. They cannot be removed by the owners. They can only be removed by a further court decision. That particular person, whether it's a company or it's an individual that can act as an administrator, has the authority to essentially make all financial decisions, maintenance and repair decisions, and any other community decisions on behalf of the owners. And the owners don't have the ability to change that unless, of course, the administrator's not complying with appropriate laws or applicable laws, but otherwise has full power.
When you get into this, let's say you have a high-rise building, for example, let's say 200 units, well, arbitrary figure here. As you say, because of a dysfunctional board and factions, political fighting going on, repairs weren't carried out. The maintenance fees were not raised to the level they should have been. The condo, what I'm explaining here is bankrupt.
Essentially. It's either.
Now, how do you get out of that?
There are condos that unfortunately are in a downward spiral that can't seem to stop the spiral or just continue spiraling. And the main reason for that is because over a period of a number of years, certain things have not been done. In other words, you haven't been keeping up with your maintenance and repairs. You haven't been increasing your common expenses to provide better services or higher quality services to maintain and upkeep your building. What ends up happening is that you have obviously values drop in comparison to other buildings, perhaps down the street or in the neighborhood, and you have very upset owners who want to change that. And where the political dysfunction starts is where you have these factions or political tensions in a building, where you have a group of owners that does want to change the spiral from going further downward. And you have those that don't care that it goes further downward. And in terms of a board not being able to function, it's because of political factions in most cases. In other buildings where there is an administratorship, it's largely because perhaps there's no one willing to act as a director, and you have to have a board of directors. And if you are left without one, an owner can go to a court and ask for the appointment of an administrator to take on that role. Just
to go back to my original thing, if a condo is bankrupt, what are the solutions if the people with it? Let's say you have a condominium where people are on fixed incomes and so on and so forth, and there are limits to how much you can raise the fees and so on and so forth. What happens then? Is the building put on the block? What happens to the individual owners?
In many cases, what ends up happening is that you'll have a combination of financing. You'll have a special assessment, very large in many cases, that's spread over a number of years. You also have a combination of loan financing as well to help offset the immediate burden of a special assessment. At the end of the day, depending on how financially strained a condominium is, it could be a decade before it gets out or more. It could be a few years. We've had some condominiums under administratorship that have had the administratorship dissolved or removed by court order after about a 5-year period. And great for those condos. Unfortunately, most condos that are in need of an administrator don't have one, and they just keep spiraling.
Until it gets to a point where it becomes untenable. And what happens in this instance? Wait a minute. We have somebody here with this. Brian, Mississauga, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. You were on a board of directors, is that right?
I was the president as the board of directors. We came in for like 3 months. We noticed that the company that's in charge of our contracting and et cetera, the condominium company that's taking care of us, was giving out the contracts for the highest dollar value. So if anywhere else I would say $1, they would get it done for $2. And we were going to get rid of them, change them, and start getting a quotation system, et cetera, et cetera. But we were only in for 3 months, and we got ejected. And now we notice a downturn spiral. From our reserve, 89,000, we're at 60-something.
Wow. Yeah, you seem to be, if not on the cusp, close to it of that revolving door of boards of directors that I mentioned earlier. What you need to do in those circumstances, this is true for all condos that have some political dysfunction, you have to find some form of stability. That's easy to say, but where you have multiple factions, sometimes the best solution is to have representatives from all of those factions on the board so that you can hear each other's points of view and try to govern properly.
You see, the funny part is we're only 32 units.
Oh, that's even worse.
I'm thinking that this is going to be easier, only having 32 units. We've got two parties.
Mm-hmm.
A party that wants to keep this condominium company that's taking care of us for
Right.
the last 5 years, which has actually started our deficit. Prior to that, we did not have a deficit.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got another team that just wants to change and fix things.
Yeah.
But they won't let us do that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, your only way out of that is to probably do what they did to you 3 months ago, or after that 3-month period that you were in, is bring a requisition to remove the current board and see if you can go at it for a second go.
But
Right.
what do you think financially we should do? I'm worried that I want to leave.
Well, this
that's
is
a
going to have
larger
to be very
question.
quick because we're just about out of the show. Go.
Like, we want to sell the place.
well,
I want to sell my house and leave.
You know what? You can do that. There's unfortunately nothing you can do about the condo's finances. If you don't want to stay in the condo anymore, certainly list it.
That's a
Thank you very
very
much for your
interesting
help.
point that was brought up there about who's providing those services and why. Anyway, Maria, thank you very much for being on the show. We
Thank
had a
you,
lot of
Peter.
interesting questions. There's a whole pile of areas we didn't cover.
Sure.
And next week, we're going to talk about wills and estate law and all those nice things. Anyway, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.